I started in June of 1993. I was in the 71st RTT. I was actually number one on the standby list, so I didn't go in on day one. I went in on day 3. And I graduated October 14th, 1993. From there, I was assigned to the SP Newberry Barracks, which is also denoted as A2. And I went there for break-in, and I was worried I was going to get transferred to Western Mass, but luckily enough I never did, and I remained there for 11 years on patrol. And from there I was transferred to the Division of Investigative Services, and I was assigned to the Racing Commission unit, which overlooked horse racing and dog racing here in Massachusetts. That was probably my favorite part of my career. From there, I was there till from 2004 to 2012, and then I went to A Troop, to the A Troop headquarters, to the detail office, and I worked there from 2012 till I retired in June of 2017. So my first memory, I grew up in Wenham, which is a very small town on the North Shore, and it was kind of like Mayberry PD, and we'd community policing before it became a thing, before Bill Bratton made it a thing. It was just how Wenham police ran, and our chief of police was Chief Edward Harridan, who was a retired Massachusetts state trooper. He was actually in the same class. He graduated with Dick Clements. So he was the chief then, and then the Wenham police, they used to cross us going to school and so on and so forth. So we always had great interactions with the police. Then I became, as time went on, I got on the Wenham police part-time, and there was an accident on 128, and I was on duty, and I, of course, responded, and the state police responded, and the professionalism was just like, I was just in awe. And I remember, doing what I could do to help, and the trooper was placing a man under arrest, and I realized, oh wow, I looked at his cruiser, and he had a nice clean uniform hanging up in the back, and I knew he had to put the prisoner in the back. So I ran and opened his cruiser and took the uniform out and put it in his front seat for him, so the prisoner wouldn't, harm his uniform at all. My best friend became a dispatcher for the Hamilton Wenham Emergency Center, and she dispatched for Hamilton, Wenham Police, Fire, etc. And she said, Winnie, they're hiring part-time dispatchers on weekends. Are you interested? And I said, sure. So I took the job. At the time, I was going to art school. And it was great because at 4 in the morning, when it got quiet, I could do my art homework and get paid for it. So there was a case of a missing girl from Harvard University, Joan Webster. And around 1987 or 88, somewhere in that time period, that her remains were discovered in Hamilton in Chabaco Woods. And so they had a pathologist, archaeologist, pathologist come out in the crime scene, and the Hamilton police called the state police for a crime scene sketch artist, and the state police said, we don't have one available. So the chief in Hamilton said, what should I do? And he said, oh, I know, Winnie draws. She does portraits and everything. I'll call her. So I said, I'm happy to go, but I don't have not a clue what I'm doing. He says, that's okay, just bring your sketch pad and your supplies. So I went, and the archaeologist, pathologist was great. He said, we're coordinating this off, do the same on your piece of paper, and then just draw as we unearth each bone, the bone in that quadrant, and label it. I'll tell you what to label it. So I did that, and I said, wow, this is great. Like, if I could get on the state police and become a sketch artist. That'd be amazing because I'd combine both my passions, law enforcement and art. So the state police exam was coming up, and one of the female officer came up to me and said, Winnie, have you thought about taking the state police exam? And I said, Karen, I don't know. If a job opened up in Wenham, I'd be all over it, but I don't know if I want to patrol 495 at 3 in the morning. And she said, okay, I get that. So lo and behold, she talks me into taking this state police test. So I say, yeah, I'm going to do it. I can become that sketch artist and things will be great. So I'm in the academy and I'm like, oh, I don't know about this. I don't know. And as time went on, I was feeling like, wow, I think I'm going to make it. I think I'm going to graduate. And it was getting towards the end. It's like a couple weeks left in the academy. And you could actually have a conversation with the DI. So there was a woman DI one day, and I said, I'd like to, when I graduate, I'd like to become a sketch artist for the state police. And she said, She goes, well, I don't know how to tell you this, but there's no such position. And I said, but on the road in 1997, it was in the summer. I was on patrol day shift 7 to 3, and there was a group of troopers, a sergeant. I was familiar with a lot of them. They were setting up a detail on 95. And so I was like, okay, so then, go back around. And now they had set up the detail, and I came upon it very quickly. And I was like, whoa, there was a rack body truck in the high speed lane. And I was like, whoa, there's no advance warning. This is not good. So I passed them, and I said, I'm going to get off at the next exit. I know these people are, and I was still kind of new, and they were senior to me, and I was like, oh, I know they're senior to me, but there's a lieutenant and so forth in charge, but I have to say something because this is dangerous. Someone's going to get killed or hurt. I turned around. Now I'm going northbound, and I get a call from the desk man on Newbury, and he says, calls my cruiser number. He says, respond to a code 16, 95 northbound in Newbury. And I'm like, oh no, why couldn't I have got there sooner? Told them. So I come around, and sure enough, there was a fatal accident. A young boy, he had just graduated high school, and what we think happened is he was, at that time we had CDs, and we think he was changing a CD, looked down for a brief moment, and then looked up and said, oh my God, tried to steer, but didn't do it in time, and the rock body got him right in the head. And at the time, I was pregnant with my son, and I was only, say, six or 8 weeks, because I remember having to go up to New Hampshire and give the death notification, and, talking with the wife, the mother, and saying, I feel so bad for you, and meanwhile I'm pregnant. I can't even imagine what you're going through. So, yeah, I told her, you have to call. Her husband worked in Boston, and I said, you have to call someone at your husband's work and tell them that, they need to drive him home, because you can't have two, fatals. And so that's what she did. The one that sticks out in my mind is I went over to Ireland in 2014 with a bunch of Mass State troopers, as well as some of their wives and so forth. And we visited with sick children in the in the hospitals. We did all kinds of things with the Garter. But on St. Patrick's Day, we marched in Cork in the St. Patrick's Day Parade. And it was just amazing. Like, there was probably 40,000 people clapping, going crazy. Oh, the Mass State Police, like, couldn't believe it. Like, we would stop, and then we'd, da-da-da, they'd play the music, and then we'd step off again, and they'd just go crazy, like we were, football stars or something. It was amazing. Okay, so my worst day on the job was October 13th of 2014. There was a traumatic incident, and what happened from the traumatic incident is I came down with PTSD, and I was on light duty. Well, first I was on sick leave, then I was on light duty. I had to go to the state police psychologist and be evaluated. He evaluated me. Yes, Trooper Rennie, you have PTSD. I'll see you in 6 weeks. What are you doing for this? At the time I was seeing a counselor, and he says, okay, keep doing that and see you in 6 weeks. And so I'd go back in 6 weeks, how are you doing? Go through it. So about the third visit, he says, wow. He goes, what are you doing? He goes, because you seem to be doing a lot better. I said, well, I'm still seeing the counselor. I'm doing a little bit of yoga, and I found this thing called Reiki, energy healing. I'm doing that, and I got certified, and I can do it to myself when I feel anxiety and depression, and it's helping a ton. And he goes, yes, it is. And he goes, I suggest you continue doing it. So I did, and I came back 2 more times, and the 5th time I came back, he cleared me for full duty. So 2 people who had a significant impact on my career and even getting through the State Police Academy were Trooper Richard Zuko and Trooper Kevin Kelly. Trooper Zuko was, I believe, he was a former Marine, and he was in shape and mentally and physically, but he also had a human element, very human side to himself, and he saw us struggling at times, everyone trying to do the right thing and being all stressed out and not being able to talk or whatever it was. And say you had a family member at home suddenly in the hospital. Now you're dealing with that. You can't visit them. You can't really find out what's going on with them. You're off in New Braintree in what was going to be a prison, so you feel like you're a prisoner. And he would get wind of that, and he would ever so slightly check in on you without letting anyone know like what he was really up to. And he did it very nonchalantly, but it was great because you that was the support you needed, and needed to get you through that day, that week, the next month, whatever it was. He was hysterical too. He would talk about the rotten civilians, and he had all these funny sayings. And every Friday he would do this check on us before we went home, and he wanted to know if anyone had had been harassed. But the way he would do it is he'd say, has anyone been twat or touched or tweaked or twatted? If you want to report it, let me know, before you go home for the weekend. It was just hysterical. But even though he was being funny about it, people knew, like, if they did really have a legitimate complaint, they could go to him, and he wouldn't just, brush it under the rug. He would take it seriously and bring it to the attention of the chain of command if need be. Another person who had a tremendous impact on me in my career and just getting through the State Police Academy was Trooper Kevin Kelly. Kevin Kelly was in an automobile. Well, he was on a stop. He had a motor vehicle stopped, and he got severely hit in, I believe it was 1989, and his legs were crushed. I think he almost died. And he was in the hospital. He had no movement in his legs, and he just didn't know if he was going to make it. And that was in '89. Now, I'm in the academy in 1993, and he was walking and talking, and he's a part of the academy staff. And he spoke to us, about, being vigilant on traffic stops. And, you're more likely to get killed on a traffic stop by another car, by getting hit by a car, than you are by being shot at. And, every time we saw him, we would say, wow, like, look at him. Like, he was able to go from near death to getting back in the uniform, now teaching at the academy and inspiring others that through their hardships, they can do this. They can do the hard work and they can get through this. And I remember, if, say, you tore an Achilles or you, injured your knee or whatever, they had this, you couldn't do the runs, you couldn't do the PT in the morning, so you had to go to the gym and work on the bike or on the treadmill and lift weights and this and that, and Trooper Kelly was there to supervise that. And I remember, like, some people that were injured, some of them were kind of complaining and feeling sorry for themselves. Look at, this man almost died. So that quickly, having him as the supervisor for us quickly straightened people out.